Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. What a tear up we saw between Angelino Cordova, who challenged Julio Cesar Martinez for his WBC flyweight title. You know, with Martinez, you're going to get action. Jesus Christ, this guy is a lunatic. And Cordova, although in the first half of the fight, he looked like he was way out of his depth, this guy can fight. He can fight. Angelino Cordova came in with 18 wins, 12 knockouts. No defeats and one draw. Certainly untested at this level anyway. I mean, he did beat Angel Acosta on a 10-round decision, and there are a couple of others that were... I mean, most of his fights, to be honest, were against absolute no-hopers. I mean, if you actually look at his record, I looked at his record on BoxRec beforehand, almost all of his, or a huge chunk of the fighters that he's faced, they didn't have a win. They had 0 in the wins column. So there have only been a couple of fighters that have he can say, well, this wasn't too bad an opponent. But Acosta's the only one that springs to mind. Angel Acosta was pretty decent. So he came in, how he got the title shot. Well, he got it by beating Acosta. But if you look at the rest of his record, it's appalling. Guys with, no wins and three losses or 5 losses or whatever, maybe a couple of wins and, losing records and so on and so forth. But look, forget all that, because in the first round, while Martinez was really having a look at him, Cordova sort of pinched the round, and Martinez, with that record of his, very, very hard punching guy, heavy hands, you just knew once he got his engine running, he was going to start, throwing punches as if they were going out of fashion. I mean, he had 20 wins coming in and 3 defeats, 15 KOs in the wins column, no draws. And we know all about Martinez. Come on, man. I mean, it's, he probably, if in UK terms, you probably know him from the Charlie Edwards no contest where he hit Edwards when he was on the floor. He kind of made his name because really he beat Edwards, even though he got carried away and it was called a no contest. Well, in my opinion, if he hit him when he was on the floor, and why are you calling it a no contest? Should have been disqualification. But anyway, he went on to beat Christopher Rosales. That was a stoppage in 9 rounds. Jay Harris took him the distance. Jay Harris is a good little fighter, and he went the distance with Martinez. And then we had... who else did we have? Batista. Ronald Batista was one defence, I think. That was a late round stoppage. I think that was his last fight, actually. He did fight Roman Gonzalez. Martinez, out of his depth totally, went the distance, but Gonzalez just boxed his ears off. And Gonzalez, as we know, is a Hall of Famer, brilliant, brilliant fighter. And so, McWilliams Arroyo, I think that was a no contest. He fought, there was a clash of heads, and it was a 2-round no contest. Oh, who else we got? I can't remember offhand. But anyway, the point is that Martinez is battle-hardened and the polar opposite of Cordova as far as resume goes and experience goes. So in the second round, once he thought, okay, I've had a look at you, I'll go to work now. It was ominous stuff. The weight of punch. Martinez, extremely front-footed. I mean, almost cavalier, lunatic. He has the air of that guy who fought Tito Trinidad and De La Hoya, that Nicaraguan fella, that lunatic. I can't remember his name now. One who beat Vernon Forrest twice. He's got that sort of air about him, but there's a slightly better temperament, shall we say. And he is 29 now, Martinez, so he's in his prime and he's probably matured a little bit. But you wouldn't think so, watching him fight. I mean, every punch is a knockout punch. And in the third round, this shows the weight of his punch. Even though he was threatening to overwhelm Cordova, he actually put him on the floor with a jab. And Cordova sort of stepped into it. The jab landed and Cordova sort of sat down and was shaken. I mean, it was one of those power jabs. He gets up and then I think, 20 seconds later, maybe not even that, he's on the floor again. And what's it from? A power jab. This time he sort of skidded backwards and landed near the ropes. So we're talking a 10-7 round for Martinez. That was in the third. I gave Martinez the second as well. And this continued. Every time Martinez was landing, he was hurting Cordova. There was a clash of heads at one point. Cordova's face was looking swollen. I mean, at the top of his cheekbones were swelling and everything. But there was a cut. There was a clash of heads. And there was a cut to Martinez. And in fact, I think he ended up with a couple of cuts because he had one diagonal just across the corner of the eyebrow, and he had there was another one, I can't remember offhand where the other one was. But nevertheless, he continued firing huge punches, huge gulps of energy he was using up. And he's such a weird fighter, Martinez, because he'll stop, it'll look like he's gassed, and then he'll go again. However, from about the 8th onwards, suddenly Cordova was finding a second wind. And in fact, even though Martinez was still hunting him down and really rattling him whenever he landed with these enormous single punches, Cordova started to get, show out a little bit and roll up a bolo and, bolo punch and, try to goad Martinez. And it was like, okay, there was only a third of the fight left and he was behind. But you thought, okay, what's going on here? Has he got his second win? Because Martinez was looking knackered. And sure enough, in the last third of the fight, Cordova had his best rounds. He really boxed very, very well. And in fact, he was boxing well. This guy with this, dreadful record, he sort of came of age. Like I say, Martinez is 29, but Cordova's 28. There ain't a lot in it in terms of chronological age. He's from Venezuela. And despite this atrocious record of his, atrocious in terms of quality of opposition, he really did come of age. And he started to really, ping Martinez and do some really good work in the final third of the fight. I guess, with the benefit of hindsight, I'm sure this wasn't planned, but Cordova kind of, because he stuck in there and he stayed in the fight, despite, being on the verge of being stopped a few times, Martinez just got tired of hitting him. He just got knackered. Anyway, the final third of the fight belonged to Cordova. So I totted up my card and I had it 115, 111 for Martinez. I thought he won 7 rounds, but there's a 10-7 for the third round, 2 knockdowns. And the fight itself ended up as a majority draw. Cordova, there was a 113, 113, I think, and then there were a couple of 114, 112s. But that is interesting because the 2 114, 112s indicate that if that was a 10-7 round in the third, if he hadn't been knocked over, it would have been a majority draw at Cordova. If Cordova hadn't gone on the floor in that third round, it would have been a majority draw. But this would be a fun rematch, a real fun rematch. Martinez retained his WBC flyweight title. Wonderfully exciting fighter. So flawed. Not flawed on the floor, flawed, FLAWED, flawed. But tremendous fun to watch. Tremendous fun. Can be outboxed, looks knackered, looks like he himself might be stopped just through sheer exhaustion sometimes. Hits like a truck. He hits at least a couple of weights higher than you would expect. A lot of fun. And Cordova, like I say, I want to see him again because he is world class. He's made that quantum leap, but he managed to make it. He's world class. Good fighter. Let's have a rematch. I bet they won't do it. This was too hard. This is a tough fight, a real tough fight. But I don't know. Maybe they will. Hope so. Anyway, what did you think of this fight? It was on the Tim Tszyu, Sebastian Fundora undercard. That fight hasn't happened yet because I always do these videos immediately after a fight ends because I like everything to be nice and fresh in my head and to give my immediate reaction rather than do a sort of controlled review. I like the idea that I just do my reviews immediately after watching it. But what did you think? Watch the fight if you haven't already, if you can find it, of course. And I'll catch you later. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. Thank you for your time. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. I'll get you later. Bye-bye.